lifted up by the lock of his head and seeing whirling, spirographs and whatever those things are called. Probably not spirographs, but he's seeing like the wheel in the middle of the wheel, and he's seeing all these things get carried in the spirit, and that's what it implies there. I don't know if he ever saw Jerusalem physically in his own, like not getting carried by his hair. I always wondered about how much that hurt, or if it was like spiritual so it didn't hurt. I don't know. The mind makes it real. I don't know if it's Amos 9. Get Amos 9. Another 90s reference. Sorry. Yeah. Amos. Amos 9. 2 more books. In captivity as a child? Well, we know that. But how old was he? So he's carried to Babylon from Israel? Does he have a reference? It's just going to be the captivity. You'd have to do the chronology on it to find out his age. And I don't.
Think actually, like someone could think that it was carrying a baby, but didn't they like carry the captives in like those cages or whatever?
Yeah, if he was a child and he came out in the captivity. That's the question. How old was he when the time of the captivity? Well, okay. Well, what's
Daniel and Ezekiel are contemporaries, right? And Daniel is 17.
Yeah, what's the date? The date on Ezekiel I have is 573. And the date of the captivity.
Ezekiel went back to Jerusalem. He went back with the
I don't know. I don't know.
Chapter 20, verses 1 and 2, it says that the very first vision that he saw was in the 6th month, which is the 5th year of King Jehoiakim captivity. So he was old enough to know.
Okay, there you go. There you go. So he's seeing the vision 5 years into the captivity. Yeah. Yeah. If I had all the chronology memorized, I'd be doing great. I don't. Those numbers, boy. If the contradiction involves chronology, I'll never figure it out. Oh, okay. Okay. So he's grown up. Yes, he's definitely seen Jerusalem. And then he's carried into captivity and kept alive for some reason. So he had some value to them that they saw. Amos 9. Amos 9. This one later. Amos 9, verse 9. For lo, I will command, and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations, like as corn is sifted in a sieve. Yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth. All the sinners of my people shall die with the sword, which say, the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. Now here's this phrase we're going to start seeing over and over, verse 11. In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen. So we've already been covering this tabernacle thing, and David's going to be there, and it's the tabernacle of David that's restored. But notice the phrase, in that day. That day is the day of the Lord. The tabernacle that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old, that they may possess the remnant of Edom. So Edom came in and took their land. They're going to possess that again. And of all the heathen which are called by my name, saith the Lord, that doeth this. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that the plowman, the guy plowing the field, shall overtake the reaper. So there's a guy pulling crops out of the field, and the plowman saying, get out of the way, hurry up, finish up your crops, I want to get another crop in. And the ground is so fertile that he's able to do this and get multiple crops in during the same year. The plowman shall overtake the reaper. The treader of grapes is going to overtake him that soweth seed. And the mountains shall drop sweet wine. Now, can you see that the first one is literal and then the second one is figurative? The mountain shall drop sweet wine. That doesn't mean the mountain is like reaching out its arm and pouring wine and dropping sweet. You see that? When the Bible's figurative, it's not like a question of is it figurative or is it literal. The mountain, in a poetic sense, is putting forth so many grapes that are growing that the mountains are putting forth sweet wine. That's like when they say they shall dig brass out of the earth. Well, they're not literally digging like brass ingots that somebody left in the earth, right? They're digging brass out of the earth. Where else do you get it from? You get it from the earth. And all the hills shall melt. We're going to look at that here in a minute. Verse 14, and I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel, and they shall build the waste cities and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and drink the wine thereof. And they shall also make gardens and eat the fruit of them, and I will plant them upon their land, and they shall no more be pulled up out of their land, which I have given them, saith the Lord thy God. Look at Isaiah 24. Isaiah 24, verse 20. Isaiah 24, verse 20. Now, what happens before Israel builds that tabernacle? We're going to kind of go backwards on our timeline here. So Israel's restored to the land. There's a tabernacle built. David is there. What happens right before that? Lots of destruction. Isaiah 24:20. Isaiah 24:20. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard. That sounds pretty bad. That sounds like the earth rotating, or let's say revolving around the sun, if that's how the whole thing works, gets shaken and it's reeling and something's out of whack. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard and shall be removed like a cottage. So like a really poorly built building out in the middle of nowhere that just gets blown down by a storm. That's what happens to the whole earth. The transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. The Lord's going to destroy a bunch of people, and the kings are the ones that are responsible, and they're going to take that punishment themselves. Verse 22, they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days shall they be visited. Then the moon shall be confounded. Now, if the earth gets out of revolution, everything else gets affected by it, because the gravity of the moon and the gravity of the earth and the gravity of the sun and all the other planets as well are interdependent upon each other. What's that verse? Psalm 121 something. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. Now, if you're in the tribulation, you better go to the Walgreens, and you better get yourself some moon screen, because that sun is going to be 7 times brighter than it's ever been before. Now, you take the moon and make it 7 times brighter, you're going to get a sunburn from the moon, but it's going to be a moonburn. Now, how does that happen? Well, that happens when you shake the earth, and it reels to and fro like a drunkard, and the moon gets confounded, and the tides start sweeping stuff off and removing it. Like, destruction is going to be crazy. If you have the moon getting a lot closer, it's going to have not just water tides, but land tides, where the earth is bulging and getting shifted and being pulled. And they've done demonstrations of this on computer. But the moon shall be confounded, and the sun ashamed, when the Lord of hosts shall reign in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem before his ancients gloriously. It's also a reference to the brightness of the Lord compared to the brightness of the sun and the moon. There's some hints at this. I found one in a cartoon. How many seen Despicable Me, the cartoon, where they shrink the moon and then they take it back in the earth, and it returns before it returns back to its normal size. So the moon's getting messed up. It's kind of a strange thing that happens in the Bible, where the moon gets out of orbit and causes problems. Okay, kings get punished. The earth gets changed up. Turn to Zechariah 14. all the nations are aware of this. Zechariah 14. And look at verse 9. Zechariah 14:9. Now, this is kind of a go-to chapter. If you want to know what's going to happen at the second advent and you want it all in one place, here's one of those places. Zechariah 14. And we're going to wrap it up here, but next time I'm going to go through each of the minor prophets. So, Joel, I might have one in Hosea. I don't see one here. I got to find one in Hosea. But besides Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah is a prophecy against what city? Nineveh. Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah. Micah, Nahum. Nahum is the book of Nineveh. Tells you that in the first sentence, first verse. So Nineveh again. You find the Antichrist comes from Assyria, and Nineveh is the capital of Assyria. I'll show you those references. Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. We're going to go through each of the minor prophets and show you the second advent reference in each one. And all of them, just about all of them, include fire and destruction or a sword. And then it involves the Lord coming back and troubling the sea. And it involves us coming back with him. And the chariots are jostling together in the streets. And people are running around with swords. And all kinds of exciting stuff. Okay, so I'm going to do that next. Well, I had it ready for tonight. That's why I was in my office. I was like, this is a great idea. But I don't have time for it right now. I think we'll do it in one night. Yeah, why not? I can cover more in 40 minutes than Chuck Baldwin can in 6 hours. So we'll just keep on pushing through. Oh, you'll find out eventually. Yeah, Zechariah 14:9. He's a great guy. Yeah. Zechariah 14:9. The Lord shall be king over all the earth. In that day shall there be one Lord, and his name one. In that day. See the phrase again? Verse 10. We're almost done. All the land shall be turned as a plain, from Geba to Ramon, south of Jerusalem. It shall be lifted up and inhabited in her place, from Benjamin's gate unto the gate of the first gate, unto the corner gate, from the tower of Peniel to the king's wine presses. Verse 11. And men shall dwell in it, and there shall be no more utter destruction, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited. Now, how's that for an unfulfilled prophecy? It's never happened in its whole entire history, except when David and Solomon were king. Verse 12, and this shall be the plague, wherewith the Lord will smite all the people. I don't think I wanted to read that. Skip down to 16. 16. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the king. Now, what happens when a king takes over a new place? When the new king comes in, the people that are his allies or his friends, they bring him gifts. And they say, welcome to the kingdom. We want to be on your good side. And they offer him whatever they think he would appreciate. And what happens to all the enemies? The enemies don't do anything. They just hang out and lay low and hope that he doesn't turn their attention toward them. Well, if you're on the earth as a nation, and there's people that are still alive after the Lord comes back at the end of the tribulation, there's going to be plenty of people still alive. You had better find a way to send a representative over to Jerusalem and say, Lord Jesus Christ, at your service. And here's our gifts from our country, the United States. Here's our gifts from Canada. Here's our gifts from the Hawaiian Islands. I don't know, wherever you have a nation set up, Russia had better show up and bring a gift. Well, do you think everybody's going to do that? No, they're not. They ought to. Everybody that comes up to Jerusalem from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Well, that's a good time to travel. You ought to show up in September and bring him a gift. Verse 17. Isn't that when they brought him gifts the first time? Oh, wait, that means he was born in the Feast of Tabernacles. 17. And it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. How does the Lord punish people in Elijah's day? He shuts off the rain. How does the Lord punish people in the tribulation? He shuts off the rain. They get fire and brimstone, fire and hail out of the sky in Moses' day. Look in verse 18. And if the family of Egypt I like how the Lord just picks one random country out of all of them and says, let's suppose that these people don't show up to worship. Now here's an unfulfilled prophecy. Egypt is going to refuse to go worship the king in Jerusalem. Egypt is connected to the Antichrist through Assyria somehow. Nobody's got it figured out quite how that ties together. But Egypt is against Jerusalem. Yeah, verse 18. And if the family of Egypt go not up and come not, that have no rain. So they already got their warning. There shall be the plague, wherewith the Lord will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Lord turns off the rain, that's your warning, and then he starts sending plagues. I suppose a bunch of locusts come out of the southeast and just swamp the whole place so the sky is black as it is at night. And then the Lord sends another plague and another plague until they get their attention. Look in verse 19. This shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all nations that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Now, do you see how the millennium isn't like perfect? The millennium isn't sinless, and the millennium isn't no death, and the millennium isn't the curse removed, but the curse is lifted. So you've all heard that the lion lays down with the lamb, right? And a child can put his hand on a poisonous snake's den and not worry about being bitten. And the child can lead, the leopard down the street or however he's doing that. So the curse is lifted or is relaxed somewhat, but the curse is not removed. And people are living much longer. I don't have the reference marked here or memorized, but where does it say that if a man died 100 years old, he shall be called a child? Does anybody know that reference? Are y'all familiar with that reference? It's in Isaiah. I'd have to look up 100 and child, and you'll find it in the verse. But when that thing is relaxed, it doesn't mean that men don't have the same heart they've always had. It's just they got a better ruler that has power over the heavens and over the weather system, and they don't need the Weather Channel. They just need to show up at Feast of Tabernacles and bring an offering, and they'll be fine. Verse 20, here's your phrase again. In that day shall there be upon the bells of the horses holiness to the Lord, and the pots in the Lord's house. Now there's the tabernacle again. Shall be like the bowls before the altar. Yea, every pot in Jerusalem and in Judah shall be holiness unto the Lord of hosts. And all they that sacrifice shall come and take of them and seethe therein. And in that day there shall be no more the Canaanite in the house of the Lord of hosts. Remember that Canaanite got a curse back in Genesis 9. So that's showing you that the curse is lifted and relaxed. I'll read you a verse here, Psalm 76:11. Vow and pay unto the Lord your God. Let all that be round about him bring presents unto him. That ought to be feared. He shall cut off the spirit of princes. He is terrible to the kings of the earth. So that's Psalm 76:11. And if you want to read about this in type, you read 1 Kings 4:21, where they bring presents to Solomon. You read 2 Samuel. I had another reference, but it's not here. You read 2 Samuel when Saul is king and they bring him presents. And some people don't bring him presents. But when a king shows up, the friends of the king bring him presents. And when the Lord shows up on the earth, he's expecting the other nations to respond that way. Okay, next time we'll start in Malachi 4, and then we'll back up and go Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, all the way through. Just hit one reference in each. There's multiple references in some of those, but we'll just try to hit one reference each, and that way it hopefully will help you see the purpose of the minor prophets. So among other things, the minor prophets are mostly talking about the second advent. Now each one has their focus, but the prophets are prophesying of something. And what are they saying at the end of the time of the nation of Israel? Israel's about to go into captivity. There's no hope left. And the Lord says, here's a vision. I want you to write. Here's what you're seeing. Write what you see. And they're seeing way into the future where the Lord's coming back. And one of them says in Habakkuk, I think, he says, is the Lord angry with the seas? Was the Lord displeased? Why is he coming back and turning the seas into a mess? And I'll show you what he's talking about there. And then another place, the houses are rifled, and people are coming back in armies, and they're trampling through this place, and it says in front of them is as the Garden of Eden, and behind them is the blackness where everything gets burned up. Another place in Joel, it says all their faces gather blackness. And it's the Lord throwing a flame out in front of him that's destroying everything in his path. And then behind him, as this army travels through, it's just completely decimated and destroyed. And he has a path that he's following, coming down from the north probably. And he's coming around, and it looks like he loops around and then comes into Jerusalem. And he destroys a big chunk of area around the nation of Israel. And he's destroying all the troops that are surrounding Israel. And then it looks like, at the last second, Israel, the people that are stuck in the city, remember it says, get out of the city if you got a chance, pray that your flight be not in the winter and all that. Don't turn back and go grab your coat if you're in your house, get out of the city. Looks like Israel is surrounded by the enemies, and then if you're in the city, you're safe, but you're safe only because the Lord shows up at the last second and saves everybody in Israel. So we'll cover some of that stuff. This is a good time to cover it. And I'm sorry if you're bored with the prophecy series. So sorry, so very sorry. This is the stuff that's coming up in the future that I'm looking forward to. Just looking right here in the middle. Whoever needs to hear that message tonight, Holy Spirit told me in private. Okay. Yeah, teenage girls are like, prophecy coming back on a horse? I'd like a horse. Okay. Let's take up some prayer requests tonight.